All right. All praise to the Most High. Shabbat Shalom, y'all. We're gonna go ahead and get right into it. Foundational precept of 1 Corinthians 15. It reads, look this up. 1 Corinthians 15:58. Therefore, my beloved brethren, be steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, for as much as ye know that your labor is not in vain in the Lord. Come. So we want to make sure that we're always pressing forward, pressing towards the mark, making sure that we're not letting no man take our crown. We're not letting Satan trick us out of our spot. We're making sure we're doing everything we can to labor free Habashim Shai. And of course, yes, a psalm or song for the Sabbath day. Look at this. It is a good thing to give thanks unto the Lord and to sing praises unto thy name, O Most High, to show forth thy loving kindness in the morning and thy faithfulness every night, upon an instrument of 10 strings, and upon the psaltery, upon the harp with a solemn sound. For thou, Lord, hast made me glad through thy work. I will triumph in the works of thy hands. O Lord, how great are thy works, and thy thoughts are very deep. A brutish man knoweth not, neither doth a fool understand this. When the wicked spring as the grass, and when all the workers of iniquity do flourish, it is that they shall be destroyed forever. But thou, Lord, art most high forevermore. For lo thine enemies, O Lord, for lo thine enemies shall perish. All the workers of iniquity shall be scattered. But my horn shalt thou exalt like the horn of an unicorn. I shall be anointed with fresh oil. Mine eye also shall see my desire of mine enemies, and mine ears shall hear my desire of the wicked that rise up against me. The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree. He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon. Those that be planted in the house of the Lord shall flourish in the courts of our God. They shall still bring forth fruit in old age. They shall be fat and flourishing, to show that the Lord is upright. He is my rock, and there is no unrighteousness in him. Con. Oh, praise the Most High. So, today, we're going to be going into something I was studying. Basically, just focusing on how, obviously, we know you reap what you sow, but thinking about how we reap what we sow within even our marriage. And this could be perceived for even our marriage in, carnal sense to our husbands, or it could be, okay, thank you. Let's see. But how much more our marriage with how about Chanel Shine? So we're gonna kick it off with 2 Corinthians chapter 9. Let's start at 6. It reads, but this I say, he which soweth sparingly shall reap also sparingly, and he which soweth bountifully shall reap also bountifully. Every man according as he purposeth in his heart, so let him give, not grudgingly or of necessity, for God loveth a cheerful giver. So we want to make sure that in this walk, as we're walking this walk, hold on. Blocking. But we want to make sure that, as we're in this walk, we want to make sure that we are not just half behinding it, to keep it cute, making sure that if we truly want the kingdom, if we truly want our walk to be enough to get us there, we got to make sure that we're sowing bountifully. And not just sowing, here and there. Oh, okay, I kept a Sabbath day or two. Okay, well, I read a couple scriptures. No, we want to make sure that we are sowing a lot of good works. having a good spirit towards the Most High, having a good heart posture, fruits of the Spirit, all the things, because what? For God loveth a cheerful giver. He doesn't want nobody that is just in this thing, oh, because I just don't want to be destroyed. Oh, well, I'm in it now. Well, or my husband's doing it, or, well, you might really love this thing, but, your actions aren't showing it. You don't have no works to show forth for him. He's just kind of like the Christians. They just, oh yeah, I love the Lord. I love the Lord. He did this and this for me. But, you're not putting forth any works or effort to show it. So we got to really just sit there and self-examine daily, what is in our hearts, because it's going to manifest outwardly. If you don't really too much care about serving the Most High like you say, or how you're supposed to, it's going to show. And you don't want to do it grudgingly or of necessity. And even, it's going to be a double fold lesson. It could really go both ways. Even within our marriages, we don't want to just serve our husbands just because, oh, okay, well, God said so. No, you should want to do it. This is somebody that you chose. But, we're not, not in biblical times, at least not that I know of from y'all, but, we didn't have, our fathers picking our husbands. We chose to sleep with these men and make a covenant with these men and raise children with this man or whoever the case is. So we want to make sure that we're not in a spirit either within our marriages with our husbands, that we're just doing things just grudgingly, like, oh, here's your food, kind of throwing the plate, here, whatever. Oh, here's your clothes, whatever. I guess I'll do this for you. Oh, okay, you asked me to do something. Now I'm rolling my eyes. I got an attitude. That type of spirit. We don't want to move in that type of spirit, because the Most High loves a cheerful giver. And everything that we do it unto the Most High. So we want to make sure that, we're moving in the spirit while we're doing it. Because that's not, the Most High doesn't want that. The Most High doesn't want somebody that's just doing it just because you're not really in it. You don't really love to do it. So I just want to keep that in mind. Let's go to the classic in Galatians. Makan. This is Galatians 6 and 7. It reads, be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Let's get 8 too. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption, but he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. So we got to keep this in mind. If we're sowing to our flesh, again, I'm gonna say this again, this is double fold. This is double fold. So we're sowing to our flesh. We just want to watch TV all day. You not making time to read. You never fast. The only time you fast is when somebody asks you fast, or it's the Day of Atonement, and they tell you, okay, you gotta fast. Or you never pray because you're too busy with work or the kids, or whatever the case may be. If you're sowing to your flesh constantly, you're going to reap that. You're going to reap spirits, destruction, madness, and it's just you're not gonna get that life everlasting, straight up and down. But if we sow to our spirit, if we're putting in the work, storing up our treasures in heaven by praying, fasting, reading, studying, congregating, getting counsel, trying to do all these things in righteousness unto the Lord, then we're gonna sow. Slakia, we're gonna reap life everlasting. So even on the previous point, even with our marriage, if we're with our husbands, a carnal marriage, even if we are in a spirit to where we're just like, okay, well, I don't want to put in any effort to, speak nicely to my husband, or try to keep a spark alive, or, trying to make sure that, you're making time to, listen to him and try to feed into, his vision, whatever the case may be, then, you can't really expect, your marriage to be Amazing, great, the best marriage ever. Because you're not putting in that work. Everybody knows that marriage is work, and that's just on a small scale. How much more trying to be married with Halvashim Yahushai, trying to make it into the kingdom, trying to be that bride that's ready, because that's the end goal. To make it into the marriage, to make sure that we are on this walk with Halvashim Yahushai. But it takes work. It takes work. Well, it takes work. Even on a carnal level, you want to have a good marriage, you have to put in work. You have to be a good wife. You have to be submissive. You have to be caring. You have to be all the things that we always talk about. And times 10 with the Most High. So we got to make sure that we're actually putting in effort, making sure that if we say that we want a certain outcome to happen within our lives for our future and for our present, then we have to put the work in. We have to put the work in. Let me get this in Job. And after this, we're going to switch gears a little bit. This is Job chapter 4 and verse 8. It reads, "Even as I have seen, they that plow iniquity and sow wickedness reap the same." So if you are in this truth and you just constantly have your hand of wickedness, whether it be you got an attitude problem, or you just don't have good discipline, or you just whatever it is, if you are sowing wickedness, you're gonna reap the same. You're gonna find yourself being judged by the Most High, finding yourself, Lord forbid, but it happens, out of this truth, falling out of the truth, bugging out, going to a new doctrine, having your emotions be your God. All of these things can happen when you are sowing wickedness. You're sowing wicked seeds within your spirit. And we want to sow righteous seeds into our spirit, because that is how we get righteousness and get ultimately the Holy Spirit to continue to dwell within our vessel. And I think we were talking about this last week, if I'm not mistaken, how, wisdom, and or the Holy Spirit, you can say that it's not going to dwell in a malicious soul. That's wisdom of Solomon. Let me see. No, do you know? Let me see. Let's try 4. No, that's good, but I don't want that. Ooh. No, this is not what I wanted. I I'm going to find it. Now I'm determined. Okay. There's one. Lucky. I had it switched around in my mind. Okay. I'm just gonna type whole thing. Sometimes they be tripping. Okay, this is Wisdom Solomon 1 and 4. It says, "For into a malicious soul wisdom shall not enter, nor dwell in the body that is subject unto sin." So if we are subject unto sin, again, like I was saying, your emotions are God, you have no discipline to do the work of, what you're supposed to do, pray, read, fast, study, etc. You don't have, a spirit that yearns to be always a student, always wanting to learn more of how we could do better, learning more about the secrets of Yahweh Shemel Shai, and etc. Wisdom is going to flee. Wisdom is going to flee from you. Why would wisdom or the Holy Spirit want to dwell in a vessel that doesn't care, that isn't that cheerful giver that we were reading about in 2 Corinthians chapter 9? Why would wisdom want to dwell there? It's not. It's just not. So we got to really just self-examine and make sure that, we just continuously evaluate, okay, am I really doing what I'm supposed to do in this truth? Am I really putting forth the actions that match my word saying, oh, I want to make it to the kingdom. I want the Lord to keep me. I want him to save me from, things to come. I want to make sure that, I'm raising my children up in this, are we putting forth the works to the words? I want this marriage and I want, me and my husband to make it to the kingdom and this, whatever vision you have in your mind, are we putting the words to it? 2 Corinthians 13:5, examine yourselves whether ye be in the faith. Prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves, how that Yahushua Mashiach is in you, except ye be reprobates. So, if we're not examining how we are within our marriage, and this is, again, carnally and first and foremost is with the Most High, but also with our marriages as well. If we're not examining ourselves and knowing, okay, yeah, you know what? I do got an attitude problem, or you know what, I do got a problem with submission, or you know what, I sometimes my facial expressions I be doing too much, and or whatever the case may be, or maybe I'm not raising my children up how I should be. I could be doing better as being a better mother, or teaching them whatever it is. You have to know yourself, because if you don't know yourself, then you're just in delusion land, delulu land. You have to know yourself. You have to constantly sit down, take a breather, take a breath, and really just kind of zoom out on your life and be like, okay, look, I'm tripping in this area of my life. I could be praying more. I'm only reading like a chapter a day. I need to amp it up. I really need to set aside some more time for the Most High. I need to set some time aside to teach my children. I need to set some time aside and have better management with when it comes to my husband or the house or whatever it is. But you have to know yourself and see, am I really in this thing? Even with your attitude, do I have a good attitude when it comes to the truth? Or am I complaining? Oh man, we gotta go keep the more blowing trumpets, or oh, dang, we gotta go keep feast dedication. Dang, we gotta keep Day of Atonement. Why we gotta do this? Da, da, da. Dang, it's a Sabbath day. I can't go buy this off of Amazon. Whatever it is, we have to examine ourselves constantly, and then even within the marriage. Dang, you might want to sit back and be like, dang, I really don't, I'm not the nicest to my husband. I kind of be snapping on him. Or, I might be, you know, kind of checked out, unavailable. I'm just not, there for him as I should. Or, I could be, a little bit more prudent when it comes to, helping him out and being his helpmeet. So that's what we are. We're helpmeets. So, not going too long of a tangent, but we want to examine ourselves. Want to examine ourselves. Always, always, always. And like I said, this is a study I was doing. So look, I'm definitely going to be going back over this. So this is Genesis 3. So I want to pull some accounts of different wives in the Bible. Don't be too extensive, but just a few examples and how we reap what we sow. We reap what we sow. And we do have an impact. Whether we realize it or not, our actions have consequences. We tell this to our children. It applies to us. So we're going to start at verse 17. Now, we all know Adam and Eve. Eve, she disobeyed. She did not follow what the Most High told them to do. And then in turn, Adam followed after her. And now we're in the predicament that we're in. We got the curses, we our desires unto our husbands, and Adam, he, with the sweat of his face, he should eat bread and so on and so forth. But this is Genesis 3:17. It reads, and unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for thy sake, in sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. So Adam, again, listened to Eve and followed her into disobedience. So if we're disobedient or not submissive, to the Most High, first and foremost, and to our husbands, that fruit is going to manifest. And that fruit manifested right here. Eve should have been obedient unto the Most High. She should have been doing what the Most High told her to do. So if we are not doing what the Most High told us to do, which is all throughout the scriptures, this is our instruction guide, for lack of better terms. If we're not doing that, then that fruit is going to manifest. It's going to show out, and it's just, it can leak out into our husbands, unfortunately, and we see that in another account as well. But we're gonna get that later. But we just gotta really implant in our mind that consequences and severe life changes can happen when we are moving in the spirit of disobedience, if we're moving in the spirit of rebellion. Sometimes you're not gonna always understand, okay, why, I don't know why my husband, he asked me to do XYZ. He might, I don't know, he always tells me to, what's an example? He always tells me to put the alarm system on. I don't know why. I mean, we stay in a nice neighborhood, da, 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 and then, Lord forbid, now next thing you know, house getting broken into. And there's no proof of it because you didn't put the alarm on, or you weren't alerted, rather, because you didn't put the alarm on. Your husband told you to do it. That's just a small example. But, it's very real. It's very real. And we see it in real life. We see it in the scriptures where wives are not obedient unto Yahweh Shemel Shai and the men that he has set over us. It comes with consequences. So we don't want to play. We don't want to play to feel like, oh, well, nothing's happened to me yet. And, he just don't know what he be talking about, or, whatever spirit you try to go about it. And then the Most High send that judgment. And now you confound it because you're moving in the spirit of rebellion. Let's get Genesis 6. This is Genesis 6, and we'll start at verse 18. It reads, "But with thee will I establish my covenant, and thou shalt come into the ark, thou and thy sons, and thy wife, and thy sons' wives with thee." And we're going to stop right there. So obviously this is about Noah. We all know Noah, he built the ark, and the Most High told him to build an ark to be saved from the destruction to come, the flood of waters upon the earth. And we know that it was 8 people: Noah, his sons, Noah's wife, and Noah's sons' wives. So just think about it like this. Imagine if Noah's wife, or even his sons' wives, were like, no, you know what? I don't want to go in the ark. You know what? I want to actually stay here. I got this business I'm trying to run. I'm trying to do this. It actually hasn't ever rained. This sounds crazy. You're building this big boat, and it's never ever, mind you, it's never rained at this point. Present day now, it rains what? Every month, maybe. These back then, the rain wasn't a thing. The rain was coming up out there, if I'm not mistaken. It was coming up from below. It wasn't raining from the heavens. So Noah's wife, or the son's wives, could easily have been like, you know what, I don't want to go. This is crazy. It's never rained. It never will. And they would have missed out on being saved from the imminent destruction to come on the earth. They would have been drowned, because a lot of the times, and I was just seeing a video about this the other day. Not going tangent, but basically the brother was saying that, a lot of people, they kind of brush over Noah and the ark, and they kind of just think of it, kind of like a cartoon, kind of like when you tell the kids, oh, Noah, he built this boat, and it was water, and all the rainbow behind the ark, and the animals are on there. Nobody's really thinking about how Noah and his family witnessed the whole earth just be wiped away. The whole earth. Just imagine the water is just multiplying on the earth. You're hearing cries. People probably got their babies above the water, trying to help them not to drown, and then eventually the waters keep rising. People crying, and you hearing people's bodies, worshiping the water. You see dead bodies in the water, washing up against the rocks, and it's that's not a light thing. It's not a light thing. And if those wives were not obedient to, obviously the authority that the Most High had put over them, they would have been finished. They would have been destroyed. So we can't take it lightly. What we reap is what we sow in our marriage. So they would have just been like, you know what? I don't want to listen to that. That sounds crazy. Instead of trusting in Yahweh Shemel Shai and what he's put in that man to lead his house to do, then it would have been over. But let's get one more account. Hold on. Okay, so let's get this account in First Kings 21. Now, everybody always talks about this, everybody talks about Jezebel. Oh, you don't want to be Jezebel, this and that. And I really don't. You want to make sure that you're not being a demon. Being a demon, because that's really all it was. She was just being a demon, a liar, a manipulator. And we see that all the time, especially with, unfortunately, our sisters in the world. But let's start at, I'm going to do that. Let's start at verse 7. Okay. It reads, and Jezebel his wife said unto him, Ahab, her husband, dost thou now govern the kingdom of Israel? Arise and eat bread, and let thine heart be merry, and I will give thee the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite. So just a little backstory. If sisters have not read this account or read the book of First Kings, definitely get into it. But just a quick synopsis. So we had a lot of wicked kings. We had a lot of wicked kings in Israel. We had a lot of wicked kings over Judah at that time. So right now we're reading about Ahab and his wife Jezebel. Jezebel was a Zidonian, and this is a nation that is known for having idols. And long story short, he marries her. Ahab was already moving in a wicked spirit, just like his father's. So it was just a bad situation to begin with. But it got worse because now he has Jezebel, his wife, and Ahab. When you read earlier in this chapter, Ahab is coming to Naboth the Jezreelite and is wanting his vineyard. He wants his vineyard, and Naboth is like, no. Basically, he's like, no. And Ahab, now this is why Jezebel's asking, why are you sad? Arise, eat bread. Like, what's wrong? What's going on? Let your heart be merry. Because Ahab is sad. He's mad because he wants somebody else's vineyard, which is madness. Because this is not yours. It's not yours. So, reading on, verse 8. So she wrote letters in Ahab's name and sealed them with his seal and sent the letters unto the elders and to the nobles that were in his city, dwelling with Naboth. So she being crafty. She's not having integrity. Instead of being a righteous wife and being like, babe, that's not yours. It's literally not your vineyard. You have no reason to be sad or mad about this. Give it up. Get your own vineyard. Something. But no. She added on to the wickedness. She stirred up that spirit and was like, you know what? If he wants it, who cares whose it is? I'm going to make it happen. So she's writing letters in her husband's name, sealing it with his seal, sending it to the elders, and let's see what she said. And she wrote in the letter saying, proclaim a fast, and set Naboth on high among the people, and set 2 men, the sons of Belial, before him to bear witness against him. Thou didst blaspheme God and the king, and then carry him out and stone him that he may die. So this is just extremely wicked. This is extremely wicked. Lying on this man's name. This man has done nothing to nobody. He has not blasphemed the Most High, but you're saying that he did. And now the elders, they're thinking that this is what's happening. Now we're gonna see. We're gonna see what happens. We're gonna see. It's just so wicked. And the men of his city, even the elders and the nobles who were the inhabitants of his city, did as Jezebel had sent unto them, and as it was written in the letters which she had sent unto them. They proclaimed a fast and set Naboth on high among the people. And there came in two men, children of Belial, and sat before him. And the men of Belial witnessed against him, even against Naboth, in the presence of the people, saying Naboth did blaspheme God and the king. And they carried him forth out of the city and stoned him with stones that he died. So that's so wicked. And we read about in the scriptures all the time where you're not supposed to justify the wicked. And you're not supposed to kill the innocent. So Jezebel, she's going completely off. Lying, manipulating, being deceitful. Just absolute wicked. Absolute wickedness. So, verse 14, then they sent to Jezebel saying, Naboth is stoned and is dead. Verse 15, and it came to pass when Jezebel heard that Naboth was stoned and was dead, that Jezebel said to Ahab, arise, take possession of the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite, which he refused to give thee for money, for Naboth is not alive, but dead. And you see this a lot, especially in our community, unfortunately, where our people, we got sisters, we got men that are in the streets, they like to steal, rob, plot on folks. And, a lot of women, they help men set other men up for their man. And nothing's new under the sun. Nothing's new under the sun. So you don't want to be a wife that is aiding and abetting with your husband's wickedness. We are help means we are supposed to be pillars of peace. We're supposed to be able to help them with being righteous, not help them with being wicked. And we have that power to do either one. And that's something, again, we got to sit down and evaluate and examine ourselves. Like, am I being a demon? Am I wicked? Am I not moving in the fruits of the Spirit? Am I not moving according to how Yahweh has called us to walk? Because then you have stuff like this, madness and confusion. Even if it's not on a scale of somebody dying, you're trying to kill somebody or telling people to kill this person, but everything is spiritual. Everything is spiritual. So let me see. I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna skip down a little bit. So she told him, okay, you can go ahead and get the vineyard. He's dead. Let's go down to 23. And this is her judgment for that. So there's a judgment. Every action has a judgment. Everything that we do in this life, whether we do it to our husbands or we do it to a brother or sister, whatever thoughts we think, whatever actions we do, everything is being recorded by the angels and sent up to the Most High. So we want to make sure that our report is a good report and not wickedness, folly, madness, sin. So this is verse 23. It reads, and of Jezebel also spake the Lord, saying, the dogs shall eat Jezebel by the wall of Jezreel. Him that dieth of Ahab in the city, the dogs shall eat, and him that dieth in the field shall the fowls of the air eat. But there was none like unto Ahab, which did sell himself to work wickedness in the sight of the Lord, whom Jezebel his wife stirred up. So we have the power to stir up either wickedness or righteousness. It's our pick. We just gotta, we gotta evaluate that. We gotta really just sit down and see, okay, am I moving my husband to wanna do more for the Lord, to be more righteous? Hey babe, you haven't been reading lately. What's going on? Or babe, when's the last time you seen, some lessons? Or when's the last time you fasted? When's the last time XYZ? That's stirring your husband up to righteousness. Wickedness will be doing what Jezebel did. aiding and abetting in wickedness. Oh, well, my husband just, he just started back smoking weed. It is what it is. I mean, I might as well, you can't beat him, join him. No, you don't know. So my husband, he just picks and chooses when to wear his fringes. He only wears them on Saturday. I mean, well, it is what it is. I'm just not gonna put them on myself, my kids, whatever. No, no, no. So we just have to, just sit back and just really meditate on, okay, am I sowing good seeds within my marriage, with the Most High, with my husband? What do I want to see out of this truth? What do I want out of this walk with the Most High? What do I want out of my marriage with my husband? And whatever we sow is what we'll reap. So, Most High willing, this was edifying. That's all I have for y'all today. If y'all had anything, by all means bring it out. But if not, I'm gonna bid y'all a mighty, mighty shalom. Lord willing, y'all enjoy the rest of y'all Sabbath day. And of course, want to give all honor, glory, and praise to the Most High God of Israel. Call Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Love y'all. Shalom.